It's, yeah, I can't see it yet, but
We're live. Supposedly we're live. I certainly feel alive.
I'm alive.
And hopefully you're seeing us coming to you in a live fashion. That's good. What have we here?
yes,
We have some wine. We have some food. We have some friends.
Yeah,
So we're live. Supposedly we're live. I certainly feel alive. Good.
All right.
We might have some reverb.
We got one person watching.
Excellent.
That was quick.
Yeah, I think so.
Very good.
All right, back again.
We're back again.
Monday.
Another week
goes by.
Weeks goes by.
Just like this. Before you know it, it's going to be summer.
It's going to be like this.
Hey, and then our new space is going to be open, and we're going to be putting live concerts on. Yeah, baby.
That's going to be good.
Yeah. We won't be putting live concerts on. No, that's not a good idea.
We're not.
So
That's why
we got
we set up a facility for others who know what they're doing
That's right.
to come here.
Absolutely.
We like music.
So we're going to get started in a minute, but as always, we want to talk for a little bit just to let some people join us. So give a couple minutes for people to get on board. So I thought I'd just introduce the idea that these two guys just came off the slopes. Literally, they just like left the slopes and made a beeline for the winery. And you were at Grafton Woods, right?
Yes. Yeah. We were at Hermit Woods.
How was it?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was a good day.
A little bit jealous.
Yeah. It was a little overcast, a little low lighting, but we actually were finishing up our beer at 2:15 up in the upper lodge.
Now,
and we were like,
now I'm really jealous.
shoot, we gotta go. We gotta get here fast.
Ski down, get
So
to
we
the car.
skied down, got to the car, drove.
Yeah, we missed the upper lodge by like a minute.
Plus, it's 2:30 now.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a great place to ski.
It is really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Mount Washington from that day. What is it called? The hillside? The
Brookside?
Brookside? It's at the top of the gondola. Just the
Brand new
beautiful view of
Yeah,
Mount
yeah.
Washington, the Mount Washington Grand Hotel.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most picturesque.
Beautiful inversions. So there was a layer of clouds floating in the middle of the valley.
Oh, wow.
So Mount Washington's above it, and the Mount Washington Hotel is below it. And there's this layer of clouds right through the middle.
I really had a great time. Chuck and I were there last week, and the snow conditions were perfect on the gentler slopes for me to learn Deli for the first time. Felt good about it. Did it, pretty much the whole time. Didn't revert back easily to my old ways.
Yeah.
And
We fell about 1,000
I think
times
we
a
fell
day. I
more
smacked
than
the
you
heck
did.
out of my
Yes,
head.
yes.
We definitely.
We're doing this program by a French telemarketing instructor,
René Martin.
René Martin. We say ça. And
Absolutely.
so we're doing all these lessons, and they're challenging for old people. Not that I know what that's like, but I want.
And so moving right along.
So we're going to talk about wine, right?
Yes, let's get started. So today we have decided we haven't really done a mead program before. We've talked about some of our meads in the past, but we've never done a whole lineup, and we've never done our meads with food.
And that's really what makes this so exciting to me. I mean, this is already really exciting, seeing all these bottles in front of me, because I love drinking mead. But then the opportunity to discuss these with foods with you guys is just, it's going to be fun.
That's great. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be tasting today? Go over the wine.
So we have a series 5 of our many meads that we make. For those of you who do not know, a mead is a wine that's made out of honey. It's the oldest known alcoholic fermented beverage. It's literally a portion of honey mixed with a portion of water, fermented by yeast, into this wonderful wine-like beverage called mead. And having a honey-water mixture as the base provides all sorts of opportunities to play around and introduce different ideas, different concepts, different fruits, different spices, what have you. And we have a wide range, and these are a small selection of that, 5 different wines. This is our oldest, most well-known wine. It's our 3 honey wine. So it's early season varietal honey from right here in New England, right here in New Hampshire, and different honeys from different hives and locations. Those are blended, very, very light, very delicate, very floral. And then there's another version of this wine in which the exact same wine is aged in an oak barrel that previously had a red wine in it, and it changes the color just from the oak aging.
3 Honey Gold.
3 Honey Gold.
That's available in the liquor store, right?
And that's in the liquor store. Very, very popular wine. Completely dry, which is really unusual for a lot of people thinking about mead. often meads are done in a back sweetened or sweeter format. So they can be heavy, sweet, high alcohol, a wide range. These are all on the dry side. So they're more wine-like, I suppose, but still have that character of honey. This is a special one-off vintage. It's quite cloudy, as you can see. It's called Honeycomb. This was literally the honeycomb from some hives in my backyard a few years ago. The bees had taken off. The honey was there and locked in, crystallized in the honeycomb. So we crushed up and fermented the entire hive. Pollen, propolis, beeswax, spring water, the native yeast that's in the honey, did the fermentation in an oak barrel. It's unfiltered, really unique wine. It's got a lot of honeycomb character to it. This is called flower power. So this is a very, very unique mead. It starts off as the 3 honey wine, and I separate that into 4 different containers. And in each container, I take freshly picked flowers and push those flowers into the 3 honey wine. And over time, it pulls out the color and flavor and aromatics of those different flowers. There's, in this one, there's hops, native hops from my backyard, staghorn sumac flowers, also from my backyard, daylily flowers, some of which came right out from the front of our winery here, and elder flowers, elderberry flowers, before they set fruit are infused in.
And that, we did an actual show on that about 2 months ago,
that's right.
2 or 3 months ago, and showed that wine in production.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was the next version. That's
that's next year's.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's not in bottle yet.
Oh,
So
that's
this
right.
is the previous one.
Okay, good.
And then last but not least is our not sap mead. This is made from a very special late harvest honey where the bees have been collecting nectar from Japanese knotweed. It's an invasive plant, kind of looks like bamboo, grows all over the place. Bees love it. They put up a very dark colored honey. It's very unique and very enjoyable. And instead of mixing the honey with water, like we do in all the other meads, this is mixed with New Hampshire maple sap. So sap straight out of a sugar maple tree is mixed with the honey, and then those are fermented together.
And that's aged in barrel, is it not?
And this is barrel aged as well and completely dry.
French oak?
Yes.
So that's great, great description. And let's step back just a moment. For those who
Can we
don't
pour a
know,
little for a moment?
yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
I'm just interested if you could maybe take a moment to talk a little bit about some of the history of mead. Mead's one of the oldest, or is
As
considered.
far as I know, it's the oldest fermented beverage. There's a great researcher of alcoholic beverage. McGovern is his name at University of Pennsylvania. And he has, to me,
The oldest fermented beverage.
So very old fermented beverage. He found the chemical residue on pottery shards, which could only come about from the fermentation of honey into alcohol. So there's certain chemical transformations that take place. He's able then to date the soils that those pottery shards were in at 9,000 years ago.
Wow. So
This is a beautifully delicate, highly ageable. All of these age beautifully. I've never had a mead lose its intensity or charm as it gets older. It's really a wonderful wine, and I just love the aroma. It's so floral and light and balanced.
And rich. And it has a perception of sweetness. And it has some tartness too, or some
Citrusy.
citrusy. Was
Yeah.
that from the honey?
It's from the honey.
You didn't put lemon in here.
No, I didn't put any lemon.
There's no lemon. You said it's honey, water, and yeast.
Yeah, so the only variability of what we have going on today, besides pure honey and water, is the flower power, which we infuse with flowers, and the not sap mead, in which we use maple sap.
And
The
then,
rest of these are just
and
honey
then
and water.
you pour honey back in. Uh-oh.
My mouth's just broke.
Mask failure.
I'll go get a new one.
Okay. Uh-oh.
while he's doing that, we're going to, one of the things we want to do today is to compare or try these meads with some of the foods that we have in our deli. So one of our chefs in the deli, Marika, has put together this this outstanding collection of a really wonderful meats and cheeses and crackers and crostinis. So we're going to go over these and see how they compare with some of the different meads that we have here today. And just to throw some love to the people that make this fine food or who make it before we get our hands on it. I want to mention Wozz. Wozz is one of the greatest producers of these really wonderful chutneys and sauces, and we carry about 10 of them in the shop. They're right here, made local here in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. A great company, and we're going to try some of their. We got their balsamic fig and their cranberry orange cognac
I'm
today.
going to try that balsamic because I've never found a wine that goes with this.
All right,
See if
you're
the
going to
mead
try
works
that with the
it,
three
yeah.
honey. While he's doing that, we also have the Grey Hill blue cheese. One of the best blue cheeses I've ever had. In fact, I'm not a fan of blue cheese until I had this cheese. This is out of Vermont. And we have a new sausage in the winery now. Fortuna's. We've been carrying Fortuna's for many, many years, but now we have a truffle salami that we're going to try today. Really tasty. We tried this last week. And
Oh, I love that.
really
Oh, I think I'm gonna try that.
And,
This one here?
I don't know, it's one of these two, it might be that one. And this is some creme fraiche, which is also from Vermont.
Yep.
And that's on the pears tonight, little creme fraiche. And of course, Grafton Village, we carry a lot of Grafton Village cheese. They're one of the larger
Great stuff.
small producers in Vermont, down in southern Vermont. Really awesome. If you get a chance to visit Grafton Village, I highly recommend it. I've had a lot of fun. You'll gain about 3 pounds just being there. And they have a sample program. You can sample every cheese in the whole place.
Yeah.
It's a little scary, but
Sounds good.
yeah, it is. Castleton Crackers. We carry a number of variety of these. These are the Ale House cheddar crackers. So those are some of the foods we're going to have tonight. And I also want to, before we go any further, there's a couple people joined us, Matt and Lynn. Thank you. Nice to
Excellent.
see you.
Matt, I know they're big enthusiasts and enjoyers of mead.
Yes, and Matt's heading down to the basement to get some meat, or he probably already has. And anybody else? We got Marianne here.
Who was just, Marika just said that you came yesterday and had a tour and got to see the
Oh, great.
cellar.
Excellent.
And I'm glad that you came up.
Wonderful.
And glad you had a good time too.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that. Appreciate that. Yeah, excellent.
All right. So how was
So,
the?
really not bad at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think there was a great synergy where I would pursue it, but in the past, anything I've tried that with wine, it really didn't go well. What about the sausage with freedom?
Yeah, so I didn't get the truffle one. I got the other.
Okay.
And so it has a nice black pepper. And I always find black pepper to be an interesting thing to have with wines. And I would say that this is not a great match. The sausage is a little bit contrasty to the perception of sweetness I get from the wine. I think that I'd be happier with a cheese or a soft cheese, something that sort of followed that.
The truffle's all wrong.
Yeah.
I just said the truffle.
Yeah.
Well,
What do you have?
I have to agree with you. I tried the balsamic because I was interested in the same reason you were, and I actually enjoyed it. I found it nice. I had it on a cracker.
Yeah, I had a cracker.
And the cracker added a nice component to it.
Yep.
Kind of took some of the
Rounds it
intensity
out.
away. Yeah, exactly. So absorbed some of the wine. So that was a nice. The balsamic fig and the tree honey. Those
I
nice.
think because the balsamic has that sweet, that fig is sweet. It has that richness, sort of goes along with the
Yeah.
character of the wine.
Right, and it's interesting because this is not a sweet wine. It's dry,
I know.
but
is
it has that.
really right. Yeah.
What Ken often talks about is unfermentable sugars, which I don't understand a lot about, but it gives it the impression of sweetness more than actual sweetness.
Right.
So that's what's balancing, I think, with the.
With the balsamic.
So this is the creme fraiche on a pear slice, which I think might go with the lightness of the honey wine and the lightness of this.
I like that idea. Although I think I have to try the balsamic. Because that's hard to find anything that will go with that tartness from a balsamic anything with a wine. I always find that to be very difficult.
That's very nice. I was a little afraid that the tannins, you know how pear skin is very tannic and dry, but this sort of rounded it out and complemented it. That was quite nice. What'd you try?
Trying the brie.
Is the brie too strong for it?
And it actually is. It's funny you said that. Because I always thought the soft cheeses would go nicely with the three honey wines. But there's an intensity, a sharpness to that cheese that took away from the wine. It made it made the wine less.
Let's stay here for a moment with I have the three honey gold. And let's do side by side, three honey and three honey gold with some of the food. And see if the three honey gold is a drier, richer wine. It's less floral, less aromatic to me. It's more wine-like in many regards because it has that barrel aging. It has this oak component to it. It's not overpowering, but does provide quite a bit of structure to the wine. And that may hold up with some of the other foods, like the stronger foods.
So
like
you're saying
salami.
that the tannin finish that you might get from this, and it's a little bit, I have more perception of dryness in the three honey gold, right? It has a
Yes.
little bit of oakiness, but that's also changed the character of the wine in a way that it feels drier. So then you would say maybe the meats would work better with this?
I don't know. What I'm really interested, that I've been excited about since we started doing this, is working with the walnuts. I never thought that nuts. I always think of a good beer and nuts. You got salty food and the
Yeah,
oils going really nicely with a good pilsner or something. It's just, they go really well together. And so I never think about nuts with wines. But I was really surprised, I don't know, a few weeks ago or a month ago when we had walnuts and we tasted them with some of the
Around
wines.
Thanksgiving, I remember, yeah.
And I was really astonished because there's a bitterness and an oiliness, especially to a walnut.
Yeah.
But some of the wines worked really well. So that's what I'm gonna try with the three honey gold.
I'm gonna first just do a side by
Side by
side.
side?
Yeah.
See how they,
Yeah, this is just
Different.
such a different aromatic.
oh, it's entirely different.
Yeah.
It's a whole new wine.
There's much more sort of old world, little volatile acidity, old world oaky character coming off
like-
the nose. And
yeah.
you lose that floral honeyness. You may not
You don't
know
lose it
that this is
entirely.
a honey wine right off the bat.
You don't lose it
First off.
entirely. I think there's a nice marriage between that French oak character and just a hint of honey behind it.
Oh, God. I love drinking this wine.
Mm.
This is one I go for out of the basement all the time, out of my cellar.
That is so different than the three honey. It's actually my favorite. Geraldine, who I wonder if she's joined us.
She's watching, yeah.
She's watching. Good. Three honey and warm roasted chestnuts, Matt suggests. That does actually sound good.
I've never tried chestnut with these, Matt. That sounds great. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try
I
the
think that
walnut
would
though.
work. I thought that the fig worked very well with the three honey.
So, but I was going to say, Geraldine is a huge fan of the three honey wine, and she enjoys the gold as well. But if she had to choose, she would always choose the three honey, and vice versa. If I was to sit down and choose between the two, I would always choose the gold. So
So try walnut with the gold. There's that. I think it really brings out the walnutiness of the walnut. It makes a better tasting walnut.
Oh, yeah, wow.
With the wine in your mouth. It's really quite interesting.
Both have, they're like a parallel kind of flavor.
They lift each other.
They do.
You get the wine, but the walnut really comes through too. Again, a real walnutty flavor.
it adds a nutty character
Yeah.
to the wine, which
Yeah.
some wines have a nutty character, so it just enhances it. But it's very different. It's a very different experience when you have it with the walnut, which is always true, actually. Your wine and food pairings are going to create change within the food you're eating and the wine you're eating, and that's what you're
That's
going
an
after.
important point, yeah.
You're trying to create positive change. Sometimes it's not always positive.
No. No, like that truffle salami with the 3 honey was all wrong.
So I won't even, how about with the gold?
I haven't tried it. Try it. I'm trying this.
Pastrami.
I'm trying the brie, and so far, I cleansed my palate with some of the wine, and then I went into the brie, and like, yeah, beautiful, just really getting along very well. It actually made the 3 honey gold have a more perception of that, of a rich, so sort of barrel oak vanilla richness that I wasn't getting prior to adding the fat from the cheese in there.
Interesting.
Really changed, and in a good way.
Yeah.
I got more flavors that I wouldn't have hadn't otherwise have noticed. So I said the breeze, good with the 3 honey gold, not so good with the regular 3 honey.
And the truffle, once again, has let us down with the 3 honey gold.
They don't go together.
Don't get me wrong, that truffle
I love the salami,
is
but-
delicious, but it doesn't add
Yeah.
to the wine. It takes
We
away.
paired it with something
Last week,
Last
Deep
week.
Blue.
deep blue.
The Deep Blue.
Oh, it was nice. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, it was fantastic.
All right, what's next on the list here?
Well, we need to finish what we have.
Okay.
What should we use for comparison for this next one that we're having? It's the honeycomb. Should we leave the glass with the 3 honey or the 3 honey gold for comparison?
I know they're so different.
Okay, I'll leave 3 honey and somebody else leave gold.
Or we'll get another goal, a glass.
I'll leave the glass. Or we'll just drink all of the wine that are in the glasses now, empty them, and then refill them all again, and then drink them all over
I
again.
love the way you think.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I can think on my feet, I tell you what.
I need
You know, this is amazingly different, these two wines.
They're-
Yeah,
It's
they're two
amazingly
different
different.
wines.
So
Same ingredients, start out the same,
they
right?
start off exactly the same. They ferment the same. It's the same wine. I literally take some of this wine and I put it in a barrel and it turns into this wine. So it starts off identical. It's not a separate ferment. It's not different conditions. It's this wine put into a barrel. This wine spends its entire life in a stainless steel tank. Doesn't see any oak at all. And it's all about preserving all those nuances and character of the honey to come out into the glass. This, we adulterate it, elevate it, modify it, manipulate it with that oak barrel.
Now, tell me about the oak barrel. Is it a previously used oak barrel? Is it a brand
Yeah,
new?
so the way this got started, the very first batch, we had Carmenere. So we had a Chilean red wine. And that was the first use of the barrel. So we used a brand new French oak barrel with our Carmenere grapes. They sat in there for a year, took that wine out, get it ready for bottling, just rinsed the barrel quickly with some water, and then filled it up with 3 honey wine. I think that was in 2012. It was the first time I made 3 honey gold was in 2012. And it took like 8 or 9 months, and it just, it opens up, gets a little oxidized, and gets this beautiful color, and you get some of that flavor and nuance from the
From the
red
foreign
wine that was in
wine.
there
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Now this one, I believe, is the 14 vintage. I have a new one in the back that we just.
15.
Is 15?
I think it was 15, the one that we had that first went into the liquor store was 15.
Okay. The one I just made went into a barrel that just previously had an elderberry wine in it.
Oh.
And it adds a whole new level of interesting flavors. So now we've moved into a new format with what's previously in the barrel.
Let me ask you, will somebody who's had your 3 honey gold as it is now, will they recognize 3 honey gold when they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But someone like Matt, who's had quite a bit of the 3 honey gold, will detect the difference.
We'll find the
between
new
them. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
So your cellar's gonna have to be filled with different year iterations of the 3 honey gold, so that in 20 years, when you go through it, you'll be able to compare what that was like in 20 years.
So I suggest we finish our 3 honey gold and we go to Flower Power now.
Okay.
Because that is a wine that's derived entirely from 3 honey wine, but then with those flower infusions.
Okay. So same basically,
Same base.
Same wine,
Same
but-
wine again.
it's always interesting, anytime you open a bottle of wine, if you have the opportunity, you should try this. You should try experimenting. If you're having some light food before dinner, try your wine with different types of food and see how they go together. And the better you get at it, you're going to start enjoying your wine and your food so much better. And you'll make better choices when you go out to the restaurant. Not all of us get to go to restaurants that have sommeliers that can help us with this choice. So we have to make our best guess. And the better you get at making those pairings, the better choices you're going to make when you choose your wine with the meal that you're having.
So that's just to clean your glass?
Yep.
So instead of water, I just pour a little bit of the incoming wine into the glass, you swirl it around and just toss that back without paying much attention to it. And it's a way of prepping the glass without leaving any water residue in the glass for the next wine. So this is flower power. It started off as our 3 honey wine, but you can see it's quite different in color. It's a little cloudy, it's unfiltered. And this is a infusion of flowers into the mead. It's a technique, taken from the beer world of dry hopping. And ancient times when people were looking to drinks like this as medicinal purposes. So you would use various herbs and roots, and it was a way of picking those and infusing them into liquid, and then they would stay shelf stable for years to come. And when you had an ailment or an issue, you could go to one that was infused with this or that to help you.
So one could say that if my legs are sore, then I have flower power. I get all of that good.
We're going to just be ripping down the slopes tomorrow.
Right. My legs will be 100%
That's right.
healed from a medicinal purpose.
So Dr. Hardcastle prescribes 2 bottles of flower power tonight.
Perfect to be prepared for skiing tomorrow. I get it. I like it.
So this is, I think, quite amazing. It's one of my favorite creations.
Now, could you be any more local with the flowers and things that you put in there? Did you have to pick them all in your backyard or out the front here?
Well, somewhere in the front here, the new version that we have, that we did the special on, has a bunch of black locusts. Because those are right in town here.
Right,
Bob turned me onto these when they were in bloom.
And those
I
are
get
just
Isn't that wild?
Just got so much.
Yeah.
There's almost a minty note, like spearmint I get with my nose above the glass that I've never smelled before.
That is really interesting.
It's not like
Completely
anything else.
different.
It's not like
Completely
anything else.
different
Yeah.
from the aroma of the 300.
Yeah, it's an entirely different wine.
This has got this sweet honey character.
So Wolfgang's joined us.
I saw that. Hi,
wonderful.
Wolfgang.
I will.
Yes, we have some questions to answer, but we're on a roll here. So when there's a question.
Wolfgang,
from
this
Matt.
is a wine that you really need to try.
He's drinking whiskey.
He's drinking whiskey. Yeah. So,
This is a wine you really need to try. You can drink all the whiskey you like. Enjoy that. I love whiskey too. Never on the slopes, of course.
Bourbon.
That's dangerous.
Yes.
Okay, so now this may be difficult to pair.
So
This is a
truffle.
hugely complex, interesting
I'm
one.
going to go in the truffle.
I want to see what you say here, because that may be just a ticket. I'm going to go with the blue cheese,
Ooh, that actually, I bet you could.
because the blue cheese is a big flavorful product.
Yeah. There's so much flavor in here. I think I'm going to go with cheddar cheese.
So, honestly, we're closer. Of the 3, this is a whole step above the other 2. I still am bothered by the fact that there's some wonderful nuance and subtleties of flavors in here, that the power of truffle is a very powerful.
I'm smelling it right now
Right.
from you. You're waving that thing around. It's messing up my finish of my flavor.
Through
It's
the mask.
incredibly aromatic.
Yeah.
Sauce.
So in the end, I think the truffle is too overpowering. It knocks out some of the nice flower character.
So
But
this
it's not bad,
is
it's close.
a big strong wine, and I
Mhm.
was a little afraid that the blue cheese would be too much for it, but it's not. They're both just boom, just a wonderful combination.
Well, that's why
Right.
the other 2 wines to the truffle just buried in complete.
Very complete.
This still, I could still get some of the character through it, but not enough.
Okay.
So I had rosemary. I had the rosemary cheddar cheese,
So how's that?
and rosemary is a very strong herb, and I think that I would struggle to find a good blend of that in anything that wasn't somewhat herbaceous. yet this is, because it has all those flowers and hops and things that sort of flavor-wise are in the same kind of neighborhood of the flavors that are in here. So it makes the rosemary really stand out as a cheese. The fats in the cheese make the sweet perception of sweetness in this stand out as well. So I would say it's a net fun.
Which one is that? That's over here, the cubes?
Mhm.
I love the sound of the bubbling in the background. I don't know if people can hear that, but there's a big tank of Petit Bleu Reserve now that's bubbling away in the back, and it's got this nice little sound effect in the background.
So I just had the flower power with the pastrami, and again, similar problem. The meats have this really, these really intense, full flavors, and they're just too much for some of these meats.
Yeah, don't think I've had much of this, and I would have to say this is my favorite experience with flower power. I mean, this is really drinking well right now. I mean, I'm, in fact, we might have to ski an extra hour just to get my legs tired after all this good medicine.
I know what I can put in the Boda bag.
Matt's drinking Hermitage, so.
Oh, Hermitage, I think, would hold up to that truffle salami just fine. You're right. I think the heavy meats, the real strong cheeses, are too much for these meats. These are lighter. These are more delicate. The straight up brie, the blue cheese held well.
I just had the pear and the cheese and the lighter the creme fraiche. And
how was that?
I found the wine overpowered the
Overpowered that.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
See, I like that. With that combination worked well with 300.
The 300?
The 300. No, the 3 rings of 300.
What
So
is
I'm
that?
going to try I think this is the
Oh, that's the
sour cherry.
No, that's that's this one here. That's the cranberry orange.
Oh, cranberry orange. All right, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's gonna, that'd be way outside of my intuition.
Cool. We'll see what happens here, but I bet you it's going to go with the not sap. Because the not sap is a citrusy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't find the flower power to have the citrusy thing that I find in the 3 honey, although it is made of the same thing. Not bad.
Not bad at all. It doesn't. It overpowers the mead, but it doesn't make the mead bad in any way. It really just creates a nice floor for that cranberry to come through. That's quite nice.
That's true, actually. That's surprising.
It makes this a little less engaging,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't battle each other at all.
Yeah.
And if anything, the
I never would have guessed that.
cranberry went well. All those flowers, all those aromatics were gone, dominated by the cranberry orange. But it worked still.
Mm-hmm.
That is strange.
You really have to just try it. I mean, it's really hard to know. I envy those, chefs who have been doing this for years and years and sort of just get it. They just know beforehand.
Beforehand, yeah.
But it's about chemistry. This is all about chemistry. We're talking about the 5 different flavors that your mouth is able to pick up, how those flavors go together, and how the material, how the oils or the different textures of the material support those different flavors. Is a big piece of it.
Now, last week, for the first time, we had these dried blueberries show up. And it was perfect because we were fermenting Petit Bleu at the time.
We still are.
And we tried them.
Put all that bubbling
with
with it.
I know. We tried them with this, but let's try the dried blueberries with a wine.
Which one?
With a meat. I'm going to try it with the 300.
That's actually probably just
Just see what that, because I remember when you chewed these up, they had a raisiny start, but when you really macerate them for a long time, you get the blueberry notes starting to show.
Yeah, they're just kind of dry, raisiny, crunchy. And you don't really get a lot of flavor until you let it mix in your mouth. I'm going to go with the flower pop.
Oh.
I like that.
It's really wild. You know, remember we used to make a blue mead, a blueberry honey wine, and it was such a great marriage. I really like that blueberry.
That was really nice.
You know, when you macerate it for a long time in your mouth,
Yeah.
and you get that blueberry flavor to come in your mouth, and these have a lot of like dry tannin.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you add this sweet liquid that just blends with it. Oh, really nice.
It did not go well with the flower power. Because the tannin part you're talking about clashed with all the interesting things that make flower power delicious. But with the 3 honey, I get that. In fact, I'm just gonna have to try that.
Oh yeah, right on.
It's kind of nice.
I could just pop those in my mouth and keep chewing them and
Yeah.
go through a couple bottles of 300.
Yeah.
Oh, really nice. You know, you could do a sparkling 300. Mix this with a little prosecco or something like that,
So-
and drop some blueberries in
Yes,
it.
when
as a
will we
drink.
do a sparkling
What-
3 honey? What a wonderful idea.
That's
That's
really good.
we're doing that this summer because we did spring in session, summer in session,
yeah,
and
yeah.
fall in session. I have spring in session coming this spring,
Which is our sparkling 3 honey?
which is sparkling 3 honey with rhubarb.
Oh, okay.
right.
It's just awesome. I love it. Remember when we drank it on your boat?
Yeah, that
I
was a
love
good
it.
place.
And I want to put that in cans.
I have to say too, Ken, about, I don't know what, it must have been close to 8 years ago, you did a
Oh, yeah.
method champenois
Traditional, yeah.
on 2011 3 honey.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were still new to this. You were very new to you had never done method champenois before, so it was
Yeah,
a
I-
whole new
I-
experience
Right.
for all of us. And unfortunately, many of the bottles didn't actually ferment in the bottles. We didn't get the bubbles. And I still have those bottles in my basement. I open them now and then to see if we've got some bubbles. And I'll never forget, Gerald and I, this was early on, it was about a year after you made this project. We opened one just randomly one night, and it had fully fermented. It fully fermented, and it was absolutely amazing. I will never forget that. It was so amazing, and I was so sad that I couldn't have shared that with you because I knew that you would have
That's right.
been amazed
That's
as well.
perfect. You with Geraldine, that's,
But
that's
no,
perfect.
what it said is that someday you have to do that again.
Oh, yeah.
Method champenois with 3 honey. It will be absolutely stunning.
So as soon as you figure out the 36-hour clock, where we can get a lot more hours out of a day, then we're going there.
We're going there.
That's all I need.
36
A
hours.
little more time.
It's 12 more than we have
12
now.
more. I definitely need to lease that because there's a lot more than just the.
If you have a 36-hour day, then you now need to sleep like 12 hours?
No.
You still only need it.
Yeah.
Or you only need 4.
4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, normal people, we're not talking about you.
So that's really quite nice with those blueberries with the 300. Really, really nice. And I bet you other dried fruits, dried cranberries, straight up raisins, figs would go really well with this. Oh, did we try the fig stuff with this?
You did, yeah, right off the bat.
Oh yeah, it wasn't
First thing
bad.
you did.
That's right. So that makes sense. Okay, good. Full circle.
You've been drinking.
I like it. All right, so now let's go deep into the world of honey, right? With a very special wine called Honeycomb. I love one-off things because this is it. There were about 80 bottles of this wine. That's all that exists on the planet. That ever will. But this particular format.
What if I go to the south of France and I would like a bottle of Hermit Woods Honeycomb?
You have to go to your friend's place, see if he still has some rosette or something.
So
You won't have this.
You just can't go into the local
No.
wine store
No.
and buy this delicious wine.
No.
Only here? Because you have to come here.
Correct, you have to come here.
To the winery.
And maybe there's still some here. Who knows?
So is this super medicinal, healthy because
Oh, yeah.
it has propolis,
Oh, yeah.
bee wings, bee ears, and eyes, and nose, and
Mhm.
tails, and feet? It has all of the
Do they have a
things-
nose?
It has
Or is that
all
a
of the
proboscis?
proboscis, yes, the bee proboscis. Oh no.
So,
So if you're
So-
allergic to anything, this will heal you of all your allergies.
Well, this could have bee venom,
Hours,
right?
whatnot, right?
Which, some people are allergic to it.
Oh, yeah, what was that?
Going to anaphylactic shock from.
Yeah, don't, if you're allergic
You know what
to that.
So this is quite interesting. So this is a very special wine that we have. It's called Honeycomb. This is a one-off from,
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I believe it was 2017. That year, I had a couple of big hives out back, beehives in my house. One hive wasn't doing well. I blended the two hives together. It was strong going into the late fall, into the winter. And normally you want to leave 100 pounds or so of honey on the beehive. So bees collect nectar and put that up as their food for the winter. You notice this? So bees stay alive all winter long in their hive, eating their honey, flapping their wings,
To stay warm.
staying warm.
Yeah.
They'll be out here in the bitter cold, keeping their hive at about 90 or 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
I don't get it. I flap my wings when I'm in the winter all the time. It doesn't seem to work.
It's great to watch though. So they took off and left all this honey behind. The honey, because it's real rich, raw honey, crystallizes. It becomes solid. If you ever go to the health food store and you go to buy honey, it doesn't look like the honey bear, this liquid corn syrupy like stuff. It's crystallized, it's solid. That's what honey is. And you scoop it with a spoon. You can warm it up in a gentle water bath to make it back into a liquid, but it's full of all these proteins and these foods, and a hive has a whole bunch of other things, like you said, which are got great medicinal values.
Yeah.
Like propolis.
Yeah.
Which is what bees
High protein,
collect
yeah.
from
It's the food
from
source.
tree sap and stuff like that to fill up the chinks and keep it warm. They have pollen from the flowers, which is very good for you. And all of that is in this wine.
Whoa.
Because the whole hive, without the boxes, the wood boxes, went into a French oak barrel fermenter.
Everything. We broke up all of the.
Yeah, we broke it all. You took a video.
I
of me.
remember.
Yeah,
I haven't been looking.
I was
for the video.
dripping
I
with
can't
honey.
find it.
I was
Yeah.
eating bites of the honeycomb as I'm breaking it into the thing.
I want to pick up on a point you made, and I think this is really important. If you enjoy honey and you buy honey from the supermarket and you buy your name brand honeys in the Little Bear or the less expensive honeys, you're really not buying honey. It has been so highly processed that anything that was good in that honey has been stripped out of
It's
it.
just sugar.
And it's just sugar at that point. So if you really want to enjoy honey, there's no better way than to find your local beekeeper and get honey that's right off of your local hive.
So this is really lively.
Yes.
It's like explodes in your mouth.
So tell me what you're
But then it's
getting.
got this strong sort of tannic, but not tannic, like waxy
It's a wax.
finish.
I get the wax. Yes,
Like-
it's almost
like a
like beeswax. It's like
Ribby.
if you ever chew honeycomb.
Oh yeah, like
You
chewing
ever-
honeycomb.
It's like chewing honeycomb. Yeah. But
You
it's
should have
just-
seen the
just the essence.
fermenter. You should have seen the fermenter. All this honeycomb went in there, and it's just packed full of honey, and that was dissolved and picked apart by 1 micron size yeast, Saccharomyces. They went in and got every little bit of honey, and so all the fresh, clean honeycomb floated to the top. So it went in as yellowish, golden, multicolored, pale honeycomb. Within a couple of days, it was floating on the top, bone white,
Next
completely
week, just
stripped
wax.
just wax.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I stripped it off. We made fire starters and candles and stuff like that.
Wow, that's awesome.
So what are you going to recommend we try this with?
Nothing.
Oh, good. then.
I'm just gonna. You can have that off.
Just take this over.
You can fine. I mean, that's why I'm sitting on me.
I'm gonna
I
go.
just love the
gonna go
complexity of the aromas.
Well, because I'm gonna add some fat to it and see.
Bree's a great choice, I think. I'm gonna try the blue cheese actually, because this is a big, rich wine.
So maybe a meat.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe try it.
I don't know if the truffles go.
Not the truffle. The truffles, I think, too much truffle.
How about the truffles over here?
That's truffle. This is the other.
That's an entree.
Just to brie. Like it. It's not quite as good as with the 300 gold, but
Not the blue cheese, no good.
Yeah, I might know.
It's too much.
I don't think that's gonna work either. I think just the regular, I think the rosemary is gonna be too much.
So this is the plain.
Just the plain cheddar.
The bite out of it. I like it. I like it. The piece there with a bite out of it on the charcuterie board.
It was the ghost of a bee that came back from his hive that disappeared. What do you think happened to all those bees that just left their hive? They find a new home and
I hope so.
down south somewhere.
So the salami just, again, the salami was delicious. The good news is neither of the, it didn't take away. It didn't become a bad experience, but I lost the wonderfulness of the wine. So the salami just dominated it too much. You want to try and find balance so that you can still enjoy the wine.
The plain cheddar is not bad at all.
I'm going to try the sage.
I'm going with the walnut.
I'm gonna go with more mead. They can keep trying the food.
Yeah, walnut actually.
I bet walnut might go with it.
Yeah, walnut's good. So this is so nutritious and so high in vitamins and so inoculating against allergies that we could probably go night skiing at Gunstock tonight because we're going to be so recharged after this event. Yes?
I could say some other things, but I won't.
No.
So
Okay, that's probably a no.
you will be surprised. You should try that with the sage.
With the rosemary? You like
Sage
it?
is sage.
Yeah.
I mean sage?
You should try it.
Didn't you say rosemary before?
I gave it a shot.
It's actually quite nice. It's pretty amazing what it does.
It's very sage.
Yep. But the wine comes through. It pushes through the sage, and you get the two together.
I can get it in the smells.
Mm-hmm.
I'm chewing the cheese and I'm smelling the wine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you get the
So-
sage early.
So, really, Flower Power could have some sage as one of the components. Sage just doesn't grow around here. But another flower aromatic herb
Yeah.
seems to go with the aromatic flowers.
Yeah, sage works.
That would be the Flower
It's actually
Power.
nice.
This isn't Flower Power.
So I think I like the sage better than I like the brie, the brie was just sort of a neutral experience, but I think the sage
Adds to it.
benefited
Yeah.
from the
Oh, I like that a lot.
cleansing. Yeah,
I like that a lot.
and then
Really was
the
amazing.
wine
Very
got
nice.
something in return from the fats and that, comparison flavor,
It brings the flavors of the meat out and it brings the aromatic of the cheese out.
Yeah.
That's a positive
If I
combination right there. Both.
If I
going
were
on.
the winemaker at Hermit Woods, I would make this, but I would put this cheddar sage cheese in there during the ferment.
It's a good thing you're not the winemaker.
Probably so.
You put the cheese in the ferment.
Yeah, I mean, the yeast, the Saccharomyces would be in there like, oh,
Try that.
cheese.
Try that on like a 1 gallon bag.
At home.
I guess I failed my interview for the winemaker at Hermit as a winery there. Sound like a good idea, though. Maybe
I
it's
think
better.
I think this is the format. Have someone who really knows what they're doing, making good cheese,
Cheese and just eat the cheese.
and have something with a nice wine that you like.
There's a something.
Then the
I
combination.
think there's something to that.
So the balsamic does not go good.
No.
No. Nope. It takes the flavor of the balsamic takes away from some of the subtle flavors of the honeycomb. What do we got here?
Last one?
Last one.
Oh, what a sad moment.
Not really. They're still soft.
What are people saying out there, Bob?
Well, Matt suggests Smith Country Farm cheese with blueberries. I've had some of Smith Country
That
Farm
sounds like a
cheese.
good idea.
It's really nice. So if you live down in Massachusetts, that sounds like a great option. And let's see what else we got here. Matt really appreciates you not filtering the honeycomb. So yeah, very,
Excellent,
as he
Matt.
says, very
Thank you.
authentic.
Thank you.
Lynn says chestnuts, Chuck, in melted butter. But Matt
Oh,
says
butter may be
just
interesting.
plain.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
concept. I don't know what butter would do with.
I think butter would go really well with it. I really do. I think
That's
a good
sticking in your
addition.
glass.
So what are we doing now?
So
We're
this
drinking
is,
more wine?
yes, we are.
Oh, it's different again altogether.
Oh, yeah.
These are 5 distinctly different wines.
There it is. And this is a few of the meads that we have, and they show you the range of what mead is all about that I love. I started making mead in 94. It was my first
94?
94. So I got into brewing in 1990. I made my first mead in 94. I made a partial mead. It was a braggot-like thing. It was a beer honey thing, in like 91 or 92 from Papazan's cook, just looking up other people's recipes. But a straight up mead, the first one I did was in 94.
Where'd you get the honey?
It was at the local health food store. So actually it could have just been the supermarket, now that I think about it.
Little teddy bears.
Well, I know. No, it wasn't a
Teddy
teddy
bears
bear.
and
It was a jar that needed enough of it. But it was that, pasteurized stuff. It was
Yeah.
before, it's
Yeah.
knew what
Learning.
was going on, learning.
Yeah.
But what's really nice about these meads, I think, is they show you some of the variability and potential that mead has on its own. And these are the most stripped down and simplest of the meads. I mean, except for flower power, where we've added those things. This is just
and
straight up honey and
honeycomb.
water.
Honeycomb is pretty.
But it's still
complex.
just honey and water.
Sure,
But it's honeycomb with pollen and propolis and all
Right.
the rest of it. So this one, this
Not
is our
sap.
not sap mead.
Right.
So this one adds a whole new twist to the game. Instead of using water, which is like 4/5 of a mead is water, this uses maple sap, straight out of a sugar maple tree. And for those of you who don't live in New England, when you stick a hole in a sugar maple tree in the early spring, late winter, the water from the earth is moving up through the tree to fill up the leaves. And it has these sugars in it. And it's in great tasting water. It looks like water, it tastes like water with a little hint of a maple character to it. And some people have even produced that as a beverage. We have that maple water upstairs in the deli.
Yep.
And I got turned on to this as a potential liquid source in a fermentable for a year.
Mm.
Remember the
Porter.
maple sap porter?
Maple sap porter.
Remember that once a year thing
Yeah.
with the porter they
Yeah.
would make with the beer?
When are we gonna make that again?
Ah,
Never mind. We'll interrupt it. When there's 36 hours.
36
in a
hours.
day.
That's right. So this is a very special late season dark honey where the bees have collected their nectar from Japanese knotweed, blended with maple sap. This is from Matt Swain's farm in New Hampshire,
In Samberton.
in Samberton.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah. Swain's
from Swain's farm. So Matt has a big sugar bush up where we used to ride our mountain bikes. Where he went over Tea Kettle.
Yeah.
That's where his.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right. That's mountain bike.
I remember. I can still see that.
Yes,
that was very fire up over his head.
That was Rick.
We're going this way.
Oh, okay. Very good.
As I'm flying down the trail at 90 miles an hour.
This way. Yeah.
So this is a beautiful, rich, dry mead, aged in French oak wine barrels. So it's got a little bit of that 3 honey gold sort of character coming on, but the honey and the sap change the character of
Totally.
the mead. Tremendous.
It's important to point out, we talk about the wide range that's just sitting here on the table right now. There are literally hundreds, or if not thousands, of different variations of mead.
Oh yeah, I love it. There's the mead community is fantastic.
Yeah.
The sorts of stuff that people are doing.
So often I hear people come into the winery and I let them know that we make mead and I hear them say, well, I don't like mead. Careful with that. How can you just say I don't like mead? There's thousands of choices. So give yourself the chance to try,
I
to
agree.
explore, to try different styles and sweeter, drier, flavored, all different styles and see what you come up with.
Yeah,
So go on with them here.
Go on a limb, you're going to meats again.
Yeah.
I went with walnut, and this is the least walnutty thing of anything that I've had. The walnut was not a good match for me. But I'm thinking, maybe the cheeses Oh, yeah, the.
Cranberry orange.
Cranberry orange.
That's what I want to try.
Yeah,
Oh.
that might do it.
Oh. The pastrami with this, not bad at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Quite surprising. Try the truffle.
Okay. The truffle is excellent. It's just not combining well with these.
How do you know?
No, I mean,
tried
it's,
it?
I had it last week.
You didn't try with this?
I had it last week.
You didn't try with
I had it
this?
last week. I can keep answering the same way.
It doesn't work with the,
It does not?
does not work with the cranberry. No, the cranberry takes away the flavor. It's too dominant.
Go to pair.
Because I think there's some acidity in both of these. And the cranberry's acidity varies the, whatever's the little subtleness that makes this wine interesting.
Nope. Oh,
What did you try?
the truffle.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
cranberry's
wish I had
out,
a spit bucket. but-
truffle's out.
I said the creme fraiche pear slice is just a meh.
Yeah.
Not a, there's no greatness there.
Now, how about the fig?
Nope, I tried it.
You tried it?
No, I didn't try it.
You tried the orange?
Yeah.
I love the fact that this has that.
Oh,
I want to believe
sage,
that
no.
Sage, no.
Sage, no?
There's a little bit of, I want to believe that I can sense a little bit of maple in this. But even in the beer that had this in it, it had a mouthfeel.
Yeah, it changes texture.
Changed the
Texture,
texture
but
more
not-
than it changes the flavor.
Yeah, I don't get maple.
I don't
Yeah,
get it.
I don't get it. I want to think that I can, but I'm not, I don't know that I do, but I think that there's a creaminess that comes from anything you fermented with the maple sap, that, and particularly with that beer, but I feel like that's in here as well.
We're not doing well with this food.
Well, that's a-
You know,
Where is
no,
that?
but that's okay. It's just true. It's just
No, I know, of
it's
course.
just what's there. I mean, and it's interesting. I do drink a lot of mead on its own. The only one that I find I have a lot with food is with Indian cooking or
Mm.
Thai spicy foods. I love our straight 3 honey wine with that. But you're absolutely right on the component of the maple sap. When you ferment stuff, you get used to sort of the rhythm and format of how the liquid behaves. And anytime I do a beer or a mead with maple sap as opposed to water, the ferment behaves differently. This was, when I fermented this, it was a monster. It was alive in a tank. I mean, it would just, you could put a drop of something in there and it would just, it was just incredibly alive, rich, crazy format. And
Is it the type of sugars that are in there, or reaction, the yeast
I
reaction?
don't know,
And what
I don't
yeast
know.
did you use? It's KB 116 or
something like that. Yeah, I have to
what are
look
they
it
cook
up.
their own sort of thing, something to bring out the floral character?
I don't know. I don't know. I assume I did
So-
something like that, but
I found something that goes with it.
what? Cracker?
Dried blueberries.
Dried blueberries.
Again?
Wow.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it did not go with cheddar.
It didn't go with the fig, and I was
No,
hoping it
really
would.
didn't do great with the creme
It
fraiche.
didn't go with the brie.
How about the straight cheddar?
I tried it. No,
No good?
mixed name.
So you've tried the pear, we tried the meat. The only thing we haven't tried, anybody tried the blue cheese?
No.
Nope. Try the blue cheese.
This is the last of it. So far, all I found it works with is the blueberry.
Well, who knew? We certainly didn't know that.
Well, I don't know about the ixnay on the straight cheddar.
It's just not making either of them better to me. I think the fat helps the meats, but it just, the cheddar doesn't taste better to me. With the other, with it's like the 3 honey or the 3 honey gold, the cheddar is just like, I mean, it had that rich bite and you've got the sharpness in there and then the.
You know, this food stuff. All you need is what's
Let's just
here
drink
in
it.
the glass.
Cheers.
I
Cheers
just,
to that.
I
Here's
just,
to
this is the
not
way
Sap
I
Mead,
just
everybody.
love.
This is how you drink it.
love mead on its own. It's so much of a standalone product. I guess I do drink a lot of this. I really enjoy meads, and I almost always have them on their own. It's
There
Just
was,
a wonderful.
but there was some
background.
really nice pairings here.
Yeah.
There were a few that really worked.
Yeah.
The flower power or the honeycomb with the sage
Yep.
cheddar.
You
went
just have to
really
take
well.
the time to discover it. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's a good message, you know, to explore.
Yeah. So we have a couple comments from our friends out there. Matt Danette says, we dusted the Bell's poultry seasoning on Smith's cheddar. By itself, not great. With 3 honey, wow. So, you know, yeah, that is very interesting.
Interesting, Matt, thank you.
And then Putney Vineyards Apple Maple was great in that category. Ken, no match for crab apple wines. If they used Dolgo, maybe. So there's some comments from Matt again. And Marika says her parents used to use maple sap to make their coffee. And although it may have ruined their coffee maker.
I love it. I love it. That's great. I've never heard of someone
I know.
making, oh, I gotta make tea out of it.
Yeah, there you
This spring,
go.
I'm gonna we should make tea out of it.
Yeah.
Like our morning tea.
Don't put it in your coffee maker. I think it's a bad idea, because it has sugar in it ultimately.
Right.
Probably not good.
So Janice wants to know when we had wine tastings at Hermit Woods were meads included. And
Yes.
Janice, absolutely. We
Absolutely.
always included at least 1 or 2 meads with every wine tasting, and we always will. We have about a dozen meads available at any given time in our winery, and then some. Yeah. So yes, we will always include meads, and then typically reds, whites, meads, possibly a cider.
Yep.
And wine tasting, Janice, is coming back as soon as our 3rd floor is finished, and you would not believe. It's looking so beautiful up there.
It is, yeah.
It's coming out so nice. Another couple months, and we will be dialed in, and we'll be ready to bring wine tasting back in a new and improved fashion. So I'm really excited about that. So let's see, where are we at time-wise? It's 5:03.
Yeah.
We did it. We went through
How about
5 wines. So what is it?
Well,
10 minutes of wine. We figured that out.
yes.
And it's been really educational for me. I learned a lot about the different wines. It was
I
really
love,
nice.
you know, the best part about this is we have to practice this and script this for 3 days in a row
Yeah.
before we perform this. We've done this so many times to get exactly what we want to say.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah. I've been
during
drinking
the
this
class.
all day and
Yeah,
tasting this,
getting ready for it.
to nail the
Yeah.
script for this. Yeah,
Right.
right.
We have a teleprompter.
Yeah.
behind the camera
That's
there.
right. We know exactly we're scripted here.
Yeah.
So,
Or not.
we're not. So we do have a lot of
That was a
fun.
fakie, just so you know. I did use the word today. I wanted to use that word.
You want to use fake.
Yes, I wanted to use fakie, yes.
So before we close, just want to say, this is always a lot of fun, and I really enjoy and appreciate you folks and your comments and contributions to our event.
Thank you.
Look forward to you joining us again at future events. If you have some ideas about what you'd like us to talk about, that would be wonderful.